Welcome to the Rare Agent Show. I'm Dylan Tanaka, a realtor, mentor, and author. This podcast is dedicated to helping real estate agents like you close more deals so that you can live the life you always dreamed of. Every week, my guests and I share the stories, strategies, and tools you need to inspire and empower you. Let's make it happen. Hey, Mike, super excited to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for inviting me.
Awesome, man. So we start every show because most of us are real estate agents who listen to this and watch this talk about how do you take your coffee every morning?
It's been black for a long time. Although sometimes now I've been sneaking in these protein shakes that I have, these just to get some earlier protein. But other than that, it's mostly black. Yeah.
That's awesome. So Mike and I have known each other for a little while now. We've been a part of a couple different mastermind groups, both on the investing and agent side. And believe it or not, Mike, I do remember that you took your coffee black because I don't run across many guys or gals who take their coffee black. But it's something we talk about because I'm a huge coffee fanatic, and I actually throw protein in mine every morning too.
Well, you know, you can always tell if it's good coffee if it's having a black. And that's I had a boss once who I was always had to run errands for and get coffee, and he was very particular. Go get the beans, grind them up at the store, and bring them back, and it's always black. And then he's like, "Don't put that in there." And he's like, you know, you see, he kind of like shamed me a little bit. And then next, you know, I was addicted to it, just having it black. You know,
Yep, nothing wrong with being a purist.
right? Hmm.
So listen, you've been in real estate a long time. Why don't you just kind of tell us all about your initial journey into real estate?
Yeah. Well, it like many, mine happened by accident. I I had some pretty unique jobs. It's taken me all over the world. It was pretty cool. I did manage. I was in a corporate job before. This is right out of college. I had a good corporate job, doing really well. I was able to acquire a house to live in, and it was in California. And when I came back, and then I left that corporate job, worked overseas for a couple years, came back, and realized my house was double, almost tripled in value. And I was like, what? And it just kind of blew my mind and kind of opened up my eyes to real estate in a whole new way. And next, you know, I'm reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I'm curious and I'm looking, and I actually went out as an investor mindset initially to acquire property. And I started looking outside of California because the costs are already kind of outside my reach at that time. And I made some offers. That's how I ended up actually in Idaho. I went to Boise, Idaho. It looked like an upcoming location, and it was. And was able to acquire a couple properties really cheap. And in that process, I was like, well, I want to find more of these. I'll just get my real estate license to help me find more deals. And so I went to school. I was going to school. I was looking around the room, and I was like, you know what? Why am I not doing this? Everyone seemed to be making good money with this. It's just a few weeks, and so I kind of got the bug and jumped right into working as a realtor, and within a couple of years, I was a broker, and I was a broker for most of my career as a full-time real estate agent. Now I'm kind of on the backside of that. I do mostly investment deals, but carry my license, use it on every transaction, and that's kind of where I'm at now.
Gotcha. So we talked off camera, obviously, and you've been in the business just about as long as I have. So 20 plus years. What do you think the biggest change that you've seen from back in the late 90s, early 2000s to today?
The marketing approaches are different. Like what worked really good back then doesn't necessarily work now. For example, I got some of my best leads early on and built my database by putting no, not joking, a ad in the newspaper. It was it was that first initial dip into direct response marketing, and I was learning from some of the gurus out at the time, and so I just put up like, get a list of fixer-upper ads, or fixer-upper properties, go here, that kind of stuff. And that worked initially. And then, I think throughout my years in real estate, it was constantly evolving. It was constantly evolving how to communicate, how to reach people. And I feel like that's just not stopping. It just continues to evolve. There's some tried and true things though with everything that still have remained the same, and giving that personal touch, actually caring about your client, and treating people like, like you actually care about what happens to them. They remember that, they feel that, and then you become their trusted resource. And so I've did business that way, and that really led to a lot of my success of getting a lot of repeat clients. But you have to remind them that you're there though. If you just do an awesome job and then never do anything after that, it like they just know so many real estate agents. So as a process of kind of finding a way to initially grab their attention, show them that I could help them, and if I had that opportunity, then I would get a decent amount of referrals from there.
Yeah, and I think that gets lost in the shuffle, Mike. You and I, we met each other, like I said, in an event, which is kind of how real estate nerds like us meet. We just connected, and I could see, I see a lot of myself in you. Like, I think the same way. It's about building long-term relationships, not getting that stuff lost in the shuffle. Like I said, sure, all this technology is out there, and you never have to talk to anybody. But the reality is, the better that you can communicate, and the more honest that you are, and you actually listen when people talk, that's going to bring you a lot more success. And I think a lot of agents today miss out on that just because it can be a much colder world because of all the cold calling and texting and all that stuff, and picking up a phone and actually talking to somebody. That's where you really build that rapport. So I think that's super important. What's one thing that our listeners would be surprised that you would tell them about the real estate world?
Something I've learned about the real estate world.
Sure. Or something crazy that's happened to you, something fun.
I once got trapped into a house, because I found this trap door. I didn't know where it went to, but I could see that it was a slide. This was a foreclosure back when everything was foreclosure. I was so curious, and so I was like, I went down, I'm like, where does this come out? Couldn't find it. I went back up and back up. I'm like, I can't find where this leads out. So then I was like, all right, I'm going back. I'm going in. So I got my little flashlight out with my phone. I'm like, okay. And I get onto this slide. I'm trying to go slow as it's starting to go down. And I'm like, what am I doing? Because it's getting darker and darker as I go down this slide that's in this middle of this house. I finally get down to this room. Thank goodness my phone is still working, because I couldn't find how to get out of this space. It just reminded me of there's just so many. I eventually found the little latch, and it opened up to this basement room that I didn't know existed. But the thing is about real estate is, what's cool about it is there's so much opportunity. There's so much opportunity to evolve and do a part of the real estate that you like. I'm talking about a time when I was doing that property, I found a way to, no matter what the market does, to shift. I got into business, and I was working a lot with investors because that's what I wanted to be. And so that was my mindset. And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to serve you. But then that kept evolving. And then I was working all types of different buyers and sellers. And I started a brokerage, and I was like, all right, I'm going to do it this way. And I think I know which way I'm going to grow this business. And then the market just shifted so hard. A lot of the homes that I was selling for it used to be 200, 300,000. We're now selling for 100,000, 75,000. I was doing some transactions, but I was just my pay got cut in half pretty quickly. And I was like, oh my gosh, this isn't working. And so, but then I realized this was happening all over my entire market, including the luxury homes. It was harder to find information back then, but I basically looked through the MLS and saw of homes that are foreclosures now, what did they used to be priced at? What did they previously sell for? And if I couldn't find that, I saw what mortgage they used to have on it, because I could find that information. I could say, oh, here's a property that used to be 2 million that's now 600,000. And I started creating this luxury foreclosure list, luxury property foreclosure list in my area. I just spent hours researching it, made it like a share item, like you had to, opt in to get it, but get the report. But then they would then ask me to go look at the properties. And so while most people are focused on the listing side of things, I actually dominated my market by going after buyers who most people think they didn't have any money back then. There's a lot of people who had money, and you just needed to show them where the opportunities were. I had one of my best years ever while everyone's having one of their worst, because I found a way to find where the demand was and cater it to my expertise and something I could do inside real estate. And it did take time. It took me a while to create the report, but oh my gosh, it was most valuable time I've ever spent in real estate, just gathering that data to share it for free than to get clients raising their hand right and left, to use me, who then eventually 3 to 5, 7 years later said, all right, Michael, I'm ready to sell. And next, I'm handling most of the luxury homes in my area. Those kinds of things can pay dividends if you just kind of watch the market, look for opportunities, even though when they get hard, there might new doors open up.
Yeah, and I think that's huge. You talked about direct response, right? So you had your unique selling proposition at that time in real estate because there wasn't as many buyers and sellers, right? Because I went through that same shift. I've been in the business just like you a long time. So I think that's awesome to basically to create your own market. And then look what it turned into, right? It blossomed into those same homes being sold later, and you ended up being their agent. A lot of agents want to work with investors because investors do a lot of deals, right? They're always buying, they're always selling because that's how they make their money. So what's your best advice for an agents who want to get started working with investors? And then how would you execute that?
There's a couple of ways that I want people to think about it because I missed out on a lot of opportunity. I've now capitalized on it. When you get so fixated on being the realtor, that is sometimes what helps is that you got to also have an investor mindset. First off, I think we all should. We have such direct access to real estate that if we're not thinking about an investor building a portfolio or getting involved with real estate investing side of in some form or fashion, that it's a huge missed opportunity, massive. And most agents don't do this because they're so worried about just getting their next commission so they can keep the lights on. And I've been there myself, numerous times. But here's the way you can kind of get into it is one, just wanting the fact to get more into it and start going to where other investors are, the meetups, the places where people gathering who are trying to do more of that type of business. Here's a quick little nugget. The way I do investing now is I'm still using my license, but instead of me being stuck at getting a 3% commission, at best, I'm getting like 30% commissions and 50% commissions. I'm selling homes now for 100,000, but I'm making the amount of money that I would make on like a luxury home for like 30,000 on it. I'm involved, but I'm involved like an investor. And now I'm looking at like, how can we get this deal done? What part of the process can I help with? And in turn, why don't I just be a partner versus just an agent? And if you're like a partner in a transaction versus just a realtor, then it really opens up a lot more opportunity for you to start gaining equity and growing a portfolio and things like that. Even just get paid bigger. So I helped so many flippers over the years. If you just do that, it's great because you can get a lot of the same customer coming back to you time and time again. And you're after double ending it. You're helping them with the find and then the sell. If you want to work with more investors, help them with something that they need help with. A lot of times it's finding deals. You have access to one of the best sources of information at your fingertips. All right, I'm going to actually look for homes that look like fixers. Create a list, and then offer it out to people and let them kind of decide if they want to buy it or not. Now they know that, okay, they understand that we're looking for the same things. They get affinity with me. You can start meeting with them and start understanding more about what they're looking for. And next thing you can get somebody who's been in the business for years, but all of a sudden like, great, you seem like you hustle, like you're willing to go out and find me something.
That's all they want to find, right, Mike, is someone who's willing to hustle and work.
Yeah, right. So if you want it, and I think it's a great strategy, like to work with investors, find somebody who has the means and the ability to actually get stuff done. And you can find them. Sometimes they're often in your community doing content. Sometimes they're at these meetups, they're on these Facebook groups. Instead of just going off and saying, hey, pick me, and not providing any reasons why, say instead, be like, how can I help you? What are some ways that I can help you? And go to them with like, here's a way to help them solve one of the riddles that they're working on. And you don't have to solve everything, but you just have to be trying to help them solve it. And that goes a long way to getting them want to work with you. Saying you're eager to learn, to be more involved too. Like you don't have to like pretend like you know everything. You can be really honest about like, here's what I can do and here's what I'm working on, but I would love to learn from you too. Because people who have made it, they liked it. They want to pass it on. Many of them want to pass it on. And so just being willing to like, hey, I'm willing to help you. And in turn, I'd love to learn from you back. That's like music to my ears when somebody says that to me. Like, because I'm going to give it to you because I want to share it. And not everybody is like wants to like hustle or do anything. And so that's some advice. Is be willing to help solve one of the riddles and be open to like asking, like, yeah, I'd like to do more business with you. I'd like to because I want to learn from you. You'll be surprised how many doors open up just from doing that.
Yeah, that's super strong advice. And I remembered what I was trying to say earlier on my last question, and that was creating value. You talked about the luxury foreclosure list. You created value for people who had the $600,000 to throw into a $2 million property. No one else did because you created value. Again, you're an entrepreneur, so you want to solve problems. You want to create value because you and I are trying to knock on those doors also, right? And make sure the guys and gals who are, way above our pay grade want to open the doors to us. How do we get them? We know. How do we get them to open the doors? By creating value. I think, again, that's something that agents can really, especially today with a lot of the changes with the commission, if you are representing a buyer, the seller now doesn't have to pay you a commission as an agent. That's a huge change. Well, Mike, how do you get someone to pay you? There's two ways. Well, maybe three. Number one, you can use a gun. Number two, luck. Or number three, earn it. So we as agents, entrepreneurs, investors, we have to earn it. And we do that by creating value and then creating rapport and then keeping that circle going. I want to go back to something that you brought up. You talked about not just making 3%, which, let's be honest, 3%, 6%, that's huge. We make a lot of money as real estate agents when the housing prices are so high. But let's go back to you saying, I don't want to just be an agent anymore. I want to be a partner. Well, break that down for us. Like how do you just become a partner?
So the way I made the shift from being just a real estate agent to, what sometimes Dylan you call is like a hybrid, right? Where now I'm doing both. I went to a past client and I came to him with a proposal. Hey, what if I go out and find a deal and I can prove it to you because, I've shown you in the past that, I know what I'm doing. I know enough people who are doing fix up around the area. I have this plan of where we can go in. I can enhance the value. I can see what the ARV is after repair value of the property. I know this market so well now that I know where we can be on this and still win. What I would need for you to make that happen, what I like to do is I'll handle everything if you can just handle the costs and we'll split it.
So kind of like they're kind of the bank or your money partner.
I'll put you on title if you want the whole thing. I just want to be able to split. And even don't even worry about the commission. Like, I'm still going to do one. I'm going to do my normal thing, but we'll just split whatever we earn. And the first one that we did, I made 25 grand instead of, 9 grand, which is what, cause we sold it for, 300,000. I made so much more just by presenting that opportunity to be a partner versus just the real estate agent.
And Mike, by creating more value also, because you weren't just, hey, I'm a real estate dude or an agent, I'm going to write an offer for you, throw it in, and maybe we get it. I think you went a lot deeper, right?
In the
very beginning on that deal.
Coordinate all the contractors, because a lot of people with money don't have the time and or the knowledge base to go out and do this. And so if you can solve that gap, and many real estate agents can, because this is what they do. This is what they're trying to do full time. They potentially have more access to more connections, whether through their office or for their community that they're in, being able to leverage that to try to solve whatever riddles they're trying to solve. And so, that's hugely beneficial. So sometimes if you go out, like, I don't know how many times in my career I saw an opportunity like, wow, this is a really good deal, but I didn't have a client to sell it to. And I'm like, that was frustrating. They started being able to do now. It's like, all right, well, if I find an opportunity now, I can present it to my audience. Like, hey, here's this thing that I'm seeing. Who would like to partner with me on this? And just by throwing that out there, you're changing, you're like becoming like no other real estate agent that they're probably hearing or listening to. They're like, I want to help both go make some more money on this. And versus like, this is my cost to help you hire me versus like, so that's how you can approach into the partner thing is like, that opportunity is wide open.
We as partners versus regular agents, nothing wrong with regular agents, but once you get to that level where you're looked at as an expert and you can present yourself that way. And I know you behind the scenes, so I know you're a numbers guy. I know you're super honest. I know that you're like super hardworking and you're digging in the trenches. That's how we find those deals. As an entrepreneur, that's really how you persevere, right?
You have to be taking some action in order to create more momentum, more of a pipeline of something for your business. And just waiting for it to come along is not going to work. And not long term anyway. Being proactive and deciding what you're going to go after. And I think a lot of real estate agents are doing the same things. And so they're often getting the same results. Look at your market, because every market's different, and just kind of see like where are the opportunities, where are the challenges. Sometimes if you can solve a problem inside a challenge, it just opens up so much opportunity for you. Go into that gap and start working it.
Look for the seam. That's awesome. So something I like to talk about, Mike, is my biggest failures, right? And what's been your biggest landmine that you weren't able to avoid in the real estate business?
Real clearly, my biggest mistake that I made in my 20 plus years having a real estate license. In the first couple years of having a license, I stopped trying to be an investor. I put all my energy into becoming the best real estate agent I could, which was good. I created a brokerage. I had a good brand. I had a good run. I had a lot of good years. I had some tough years. But what I missed on all of that is that I'm using my real estate license not only to do realtors things, but also to do investor things. I'm working on creating a portfolio so I don't have to work forever. If you can create with any business, and real estate's no different, okay? Being a real estate agent is no different. But part of your business, and they don't talk about this in real estate school, and they don't talk about it and anywhere, most places that I'm listening to. If you're not doing something inside your business, and that's what you have. If you have a real estate license, you have a business. If you're not creating or looking to create some sort of reoccurring income, you're so susceptible to any market shift and change. Like whatever is working now could change so easily. So if you're not creating some sort of reoccurring income, something approaching passive income, or at least partially passive. And so if you don't have that, then you're always so dependent. So let me give you a quick example. So just recently, I had my best year financially ever in real estate. Like I just made so much stinking money from flipping houses, not from getting commissions, but from being a partner and getting huge chunks because the market was just like screaming up, it's coming out of COVID.
Coming out of COVID. Yep.
It was just
Awesome.
this weird time. And even though I was making mistakes and I was having delays, all that kind of stuff,
Yeah. The
just
market
fed
just
into
kept
it. I just
rising and
made so much
rising and
money.
rising.
Then coming in 2022, and during that time, like everybody was getting in, so all my lead sources were like getting like filled up and more competitive. I tripled my ad spend because wasn't getting the leads that I wanted, and I couldn't seem to secure another deal. And so the whole beginning of 2022, I'm just struggling. I'm like trying more things, spending more money, and then it opens up for me. Finally opens up like in April, like going into May. And I land like 5 or 6 properties to do more flips on, because you're only as good when you're solely commission based or like one-time payment based. You're only as good as your last deal. And eventually you got to make something else. It could be a huge last deal, but how much gap is between your next one can have a huge impact. So I finally secure a bunch of other properties. But at that time, of course, interest rates are just soaring up, right? From 3% to now over 7. And by the time I land those deals, I kind of realized I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble because the way my market is reacting to that is that the cost to my end buyer that I normally sell to just doubled in cost for them, because what their mortgage payment is going to be compared
Sure.
to what it
Because the
was.
rates went up. Yeah.
Yeah, so I know my end sell price is going to be significantly impacted and all that kind of stuff. I basically clawed my way through 2022. It was pretty much a wash that year. I realized when I was going through that process, like flipping homes sounds cool. It is fun. It's big paychecks. It's a pretty wild ride.
It's
If you
very
can find,
sexy when you're
yeah,
done with that project, right, Mike? And you're like, look
yeah,
at, because I've seen yours, and you're just like, you're so proud. You're like, look at my
yeah,
baby. It's so
yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, but I went through this process of learning. Like it was just, I've always known this, and I've always tried to like have some kind of recurring income with my business, but I just didn't rely on it enough, and it was kind of hard to create in my marketplace. And so I was like, I'll just go make more money. Here's what I'm finding: 20 plus years in, almost 25. But eventually, you're gonna get tired of hunting for the next deal. Like always on to be in the hunt for the next client, the next whatever. If you're always on the hunt, you're just dependent upon if something happens to you and you can't hunt, or if you get sick, or you have to deal with help with family, or whatever the case is. So having that base of reoccurring income, and that's why it works for any business, because then before your month even starts, you're going to get paid.
When you have
And
that
if you can get
residual.
yeah, and if you can get that up high enough, then if it can cover most of your, monthly expenses, well, then that is true financial freedom. Because it doesn't matter if you're making 50 grand a year or 500,000 a year. If you're having to work, 16 hours a day every day in order to keep it coming in, well, then you're still trapped. So even though the idea of making all that money is so attractive, if it stops immediately, if you stop, well, then you kind of have a problem. So if you find your way to climb that up into the higher bracket, then using some of those resources, some of your experience and things to start building that out. So that's what I've been really focused on the last 2 or 3 years, building up that recurring income. And I found some niches, the same way I did it like years ago, of like looking for luxury foreclosures. I found a different niche, underserved market, a gap, and I've used that to kind of get me where I want. And so in the short period of time, I basically have almost generated near about 100,000 in passive income per year, that I've kind of have locked up. And it's just a shorter period of time. And I've done that mostly with other people's money by partnering. And so it's a huge advantage to think about it. Like we essentially partner as real estate agents. That's our commission, right? We just get 3% of it. By being a true partner, like from the get-go, just rechanging the game, you can sometimes, like I said, get like 25% commissions and 30% commissions and 50 or whatever your situation is. And that's just a really underlooked strategy that I'm fully embracing now and having lots of success with.
Well, and I love what you said there, Mike. I think our careers have kind of paralleled each other. We started at the same time. We're no longer the young guys in the room anymore, but now we're saying what those old guys said to us. And it's like, don't ever sell a property. And for some of us, we want to be landlords. For some of us, we want to build some other type of residual income, but you're never going to be free, right? You're never going to build that business that you love. That's a big part of the, our Facebook group, our community, Rare Agent Nation. My goal is to help real estate agents create predictable paydays so they can build a business that they love, which means that they can live however they want. And whether that's $50,000 a year and you're happy, or it's $5 million a year, that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But you and I know enough guys and gals who've been entrepreneurs in business long enough, when we can see some of those people and we're like, they've done it, because we just know. We can see, like, there's this thing in their eyes where they're so calm, because it's like you said, they might try something new, something big, a big flip, start a brokerage in a new state or something crazy like that, but they can afford to do that, and they can afford to put their time into it, which is the most important part, not just the money, because they have that residual income coming from somewhere. So
it's a game changer if you can incorporate that in your business, for at least the amount of financial stress that can lower if you have some amount of money coming in. And it's hard making a shift to that, because if you have an opportunity to make $400 a month on a property versus, I don't know, 15 grand right now.
I was going to say 15 G's or 400 a month.
Yeah, whatever. It's hard, to kind of sometimes reconcile that.
That's why you have to fill your pipeline with leads. You talked about having leads constantly in there and things that you're working on. If you have more paydays popping out, right, then when those bigger ones come, or you can make that decision of staving off taking the big paycheck today for a longer term paycheck that lasts maybe forever.
There's just so many ways to create recurring income, to build up a business in a smarter way. I just wish I knew that better when I was younger. I knew that going in. I mean, I read the books. I heard, you talk to the guys that have been in a long time, but I tried a little bit and was like, and then all of a sudden I'd like, oh, I can go get 30 grand if I go do this. And it was attractive. And I moved away from a lot of those strategies. I tried a lot of seller financing in 2008, 2009, and had a lot of those deals go south. So I got burned out in doing that. It took me a while to kind of come back and to get back into leveraging my license in that way. And I'm so thankful that I have. And so now I'm helping other people realize it too. I have like a free course that I help people see. And what I find from these people who I'm helping is that if you have a real estate license, you're starting so far ahead. There's so many people that want to be investors that they're starting from ground zero. At least with a real estate license, you're trained, you're dealing with it, you're seeing it every day. You have such an advantage. If you're not at least considering being a hybrid agent, you're really leaving a lot on the table. And if it helps you get to your end goal with ultimately, being able to be more financially secure in your older years, like it's definitely something that you might want to work towards. It's just because it's just a game changer.
I can't agree more. Obviously, I've been preaching that for a decade or more. And Mike talked about, he's got some free info for you guys. I'm going to have all of his contact information in the show notes and at the end of the show. So don't worry about it now, but we'll make sure you guys get access to whatever Mike wants to give you access to. So I wanted to ask you about like, what's on your retail real estate radar right now? Just kind of where we're at in the world. What do you think is a trend that agents today should be looking at?
There's movements happening in the market right now that we should pay attention to. If you feel like something's extraordinarily overpriced, pay attention to that. So, for example, in my market, for a while there, fourplexes and those types of properties got super popular, and it got super popular by big money. And the big money can pay for those low cap rates, and they don't mind it. And so they just drove the price up and up and up and to ridiculous numbers. And we're stopped making a sense. And a
Yeah,
lot of
they're
people
almost
think,
negative
oh,
cash flow.
yeah. And I see a lot of more naive younger, investors like, oh, okay, this is the path everyone says I should take. Therefore, I should get one of these. And they spend way too much money buying an overpriced asset. So I'd pay attention to what appears to be overpriced and things like that in your marketplace, and things like that happen. But I've been playing a lot in the affordable side of the market, the affordability side, because it tends to be the most protected in recessions, in the
I was
sense
going to
that
say
like everything will
affordable, but I wouldn't have sounded very intelligent.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, like, but if affordable, like in the bottom of the market, like what is the lowest cost housing in your area? And a lot of times as realtors, we avoid that because our commissions are so small, and therefore you should. Like if you can sell luxury homes, might as well get a bigger paycheck. I did that too. At the same time, you might find that the people who are buying those luxury homes have money to spend on affordable housing investment projects. And those are really good opportunities to capitalize on in your market, because the way that everything's just getting more expensive, people are going to be forced to downsize. And they are. What I've been doing in my efforts, and myself and my partners, we're going out and we're finding the most affordable homes we can find. We make them a little bit nicer, and then we put them back on the market. And a lot of times we offer financing on that process. And because I keep an equity in that opportunity, I get cash flow. My investor gets good cash flow, and we help solve a problem in our community, because a lot of people who are needing affordable housing can't always afford to then fix them up. So if you can go in and just make it decent and make them excited about living there, well, then this is a great area. Now, to make it more financially viable for you and the time you invest in that, you become more of the partner side again, versus just the commission only, by helping out with more steps in the process potentially. And really, it's actually not even that more. A lot of times we end up doing a lot of these things and we just do it for free because we care, by being in there. And a lot of times people are very open to that because they want that deal flow to continue. So if they know, some investors are savvy enough to know that if you're rewarded, we're going to keep. And I always tell people too, is like, because I'm part of the deal, I'll look after it. If it goes south, I'll go in and help fix it. I found the buyer in the last place, I'll find another one. And so I take some of the concerns off their plate, and therefore get more access to, the opportunity.
Plus, you're an equity partner in that, so you care. I'm not saying that all agents are bad, but you care a lot more, because what happens to that deal affects you even more, even though it should affect us just as regular agents too. But it definitely makes you kind of keep your eyes on that basket with that baby in it.
You got skin in the game, and even though you've been given the skin, but at least that goes away if the payments stop coming in. It impacts you, impacts everybody, and therefore, you are way more motivated to get it resolved versus being completely detached.
What change do you see in the market on the retail side in the next 12 months?
Everybody was hoping for lower interest rates, and it just doesn't seem like that's really in the cards. I feel like some people are excited and fearful about what might happen with the economy going forward. I feel like even if you are in the side of like you're excited about it, I still expect it to get worse before it gets better, because every time you make changes, which is what the next administration is promising, it's going to have ripple effects. And even if those changes are good, it can have negative impacts. So I don't know. So I'd say that I think it seems like, even though everybody was predicting lower interest rates, it doesn't seem like to be that maybe as possible as it was before. And then inflation not really going away as well as we had hoped it would. And that's sometimes not in the control of whoever's president. Sometimes it's like the supply chains around the kind of world is breaking down, and that has all these ripple effects.
Yeah, there's macroeconomics that we don't really understand or know about as regular old real estate folks.
What that means is that things are going to stay, I think, relatively expensive. I mean, I feel like that could change over the next few years, but I feel like not this year, next 12 months. I mean, it's better than it was because at least now there's some movement of change and people might have a little more optimism going in, but they're still facing the same challenges that they were. If you're going to stand out, I'm seeing a lot of agents have success in this market. I was just having coffee with a couple of different ones. That's usually my first question. How are you doing? Because, I know so many people, I've been around for so long in my market. I know so many people. There's some people kicking. And I was like, well, what are you doing? And they're like,
how are they staying ahead of the curve? That's kind of what I've been waiting to ask you that question.
They communicate with the people, right? They talk to them. So it seems like a way of just like, it's like they actually communicate. And so they don't actually have to know what it is, but they kind of understand and empathize because they're communicating. So it seems like the key is that they're picking up the phone, they're having conversations with them, not asking for business, but just checking in and talking to them and asking the same question about their upcoming year, what they're thinking and how their life is going.
Let me interrupt you. I'm curious if you had a room full of agents who worked for you at your brokerage, and they're all looking at you, and there's 50 people in the room, 50 agents, and they're saying, what's one skill or strategy that I should brush up on for today's market, and maybe even like over the next 5 years? Do you think that's what it would be, is communication?
I would do I'd tell them to do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. And that is communicate, but like real communication. So less texty, whatever. And you still do your socials and still do the stuff. But I would say pick up the phone, send an actual card, actually like try to connect on a higher level. And or if you're totally like techno minded and you don't do that kind of stuff, well, then be more open on how you communicate, like you comment back or like, making it more personal. I think what people want in this world is someone that they can trust. If you can get to that category in their brain of like, all right, whatever happens in real estate, I know I can trust this guy. And one of the ways I did that is like I would share with them my thoughts, what I'd see in the marketplace. I'd share with them what I'm seeing, what's going on. And then I would then communicate with them outside of that in different ways. And so I just would find ways to show them that I'm in the mix, and then I would just talk to them about it. And so I kind of dominated in that space just because they don't know, but they want to talk to somebody that knows more than they do about certain subjects. So even if you're new, if you want to target that neighborhood, know more than anybody else in that neighborhood about what's going on as far as like real estate and stuff like that, and show that you have that. So you don't have to know everything, but like show that you are a trusted resource around a place where you want more business, and then they will come to you for that.
That is amazing information right there. I think that, again, we pass over that a lot, what's going on, and maybe we can go one layer deeper, Mike. I think you have a high EQ. A lot of people don't understand there's a difference between EQ and IQ. They're two different things. So again, let's go back to that room of 50 hungry agents looking at you, and you're the guy who's teaching them how to set themselves up for the next 12 months. You said that having real communication, but what does that look like just one layer deeper?
Okay, one layer deeper is just a combination of the two things I just said. Where do you want more business? What kind of more business do you want? Is it this neighborhood? Is it, working with investors? Is it working like more luxury homes, maybe condos? Or where do you want to get more types of business? Lean into it. Take this next 2 or 3 weeks and just study, get information.
Who's your customer avatar?
Gather. What kind of information do they want? And just dig and pull it and find it, and then start communicating about that specialty, that space, that thing. And then you can share it in multiple ways, but then gives you excuse, and then check in with somebody who who's already showed some interest in that. Or if you're trying to find new customers, you can put it out to the space, and then they have to like opt in like a lead magnet, and then saying, yeah, I'm interested in that kind of stuff. And therefore it gives you a reason to follow up with them. Like, what else can I provide you? Or what, just allow you to go deeper with them. And so I think that's what I would focus on. Like whatever they were trying to do more of, you could do this in an hour a day.
Today with AI, you can do it in an hour for sure, right? With that strong black coffee in the morning when nobody's out there up to bug you.
That's right. And you'd be surprised how wildly valuable that is. And then the perception that starts, if you can be a little bit consistent with it, you start cementing yourself in the audience that you're trying to attract. And just kind of own it. Just know that you're going to be super strong in that area that you're choosing to focus, and go prove it.
Awesome. Yeah, that's something you can take to the bank and start acting on right now. So I want to talk about proving something. Mike has been my hero since the very beginning of this year because every single day he posts, whether we want to call it a journal, a diary, his own blog, but it's all been on Facebook. As far as I know, it's on Facebook every day. I've told him I've tried to heart everyone, and I bet you I've only missed maybe 10 of them because I see it. Sometimes I'm up, Mike's like, what's this guy hearting my stuff at 4 a.m. for, right? But I wake up early or I'm up all night working, whatever it is. So Mike, talk a little bit about that. And I don't know, have you gotten anything from that, or just kind of share what you're talking about out there? So maybe some of these viewers and listeners should start following your personal profile on Facebook.
Why I did it. Writing was not it's never been my strength. And so it would kind of felt like this limiting factor that always kind of irritated me. I've done some hard challenges for you where you do like a 30-day challenge of some fitness thing, or I once did a challenge of doing like 100 burpees a day, those kinds of things, things you don't want to do in order to better yourself. I had the crazy idea of like, all right, I'm just going to publish every day, and and hopefully over the course of a year I'll get better. What's cool about that, I mean, it's sucked so many times, because so many days you're just like, oh my gosh, not today. I mean, I've written on boats, in the middle of sailboats in the middle of nowhere. I've been on airplanes, of course, lots of times doing that when I'm sick. After a party, it's like 2 a.m. I shouldn't be communicating at all. But it's allowed me, there's been so many benefits by doing that, in the sense of like, I've only published really on Facebook. If I was smart, I would be pushing it out to other platforms.
Sure.
And maybe I'll do that this year. But the point is that by doing that type of commitment, it's helped me kind of grow so much over the year, because it's forced me to kind of self-analyze, kind of look at the world and like, what am I going to write about today? And just be more observant. And it's strengthened me as a human, as a character over the course of the year. And I thought I was in a pretty strong spot when I started. I feel completely different being almost a year in now. It's been one of the hardest things I've ever done. It's been fun now to kind of, I am getting better at it. And I don't know yet where it's going to go and lead, but I do love being able to just share my heart, my life. Kudos to you. I mean, you're one of my fans, man. Because you can put work out there. This happens to all real estate agents. You work hard on something, you put it out in the world. I know this has happened to you, because it's happened to anybody who publishes anything. It's like, and then you're like, nobody looks at it. You're like, or you get like 1 or 2, and it's like, all right, well, I got it out there. That felt good. I'm glad I did it. I wish it had a bit more reach, because I was hoping it would have more impact. At the same time, it's a start. You don't have to look at it's one piece of a big puzzle.
Well, and it's the cumulative effect, right, Mike? Like I know you're in pretty good shape. You don't do that by going to the gym once, and you get nothing out of going to the gym once, except up here, that empty space between our ears says, hey, we did it today. Now we've got to do it again tomorrow, but we can't do it again tomorrow if we didn't do it today.
It's a cumulative effect. And I think anything you do, like if you can commit to anything, even like 100 days, 30 days, like if you can kind of commit to something like that, that's a great topic coming into the new year, in the sense of finding something that you can do that's hard, that could potentially have a ripple effect of positivity in your life, is a great thing to get yourself to become something more. And because it's kind of this forced accountability, and especially if you make it public, then you're kind of like really forced to do it.
I was never a Keller Williams guy, meaning like I've never had my license there, but they have that calendar with you do your one thing however many days in a row. You've seen that, of course, right? It's the same principle, right? It's like once you do that forever, and I'm sure Mike has friends and family who think he's crazy. I have friends and family who think I'm crazy. I think he's crazy for writing that every day, because I have read it at times and I'm thinking, where was this guy at writing this? Because I know he's not at his desk every day at noon writing out, 3 or 4 or 10 paragraphs. And some of them were really long. Some of them were shorter, but they weren't 1 or 2 sentences for the most part. And you were sharing.
I know. I wish I'd done that.
Yeah, you're sharing more personal stuff, I think, to me than business, because business is kind of boring. And even for you, just by hitting that every single day, you have no idea who's reading that and what can come out of it. And like you said, it's kind of like exercising and going back to the gym every day. When you write every day and you can kind of think clearly for a few minutes, it's a little medicinal, I think. We're kind of rounding third base, heading towards home, but I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up your amazing partner, your wife. I want to talk about her a little bit and your passion project. Where do you want to start? You want to start with her or the passion project?
In 2009, my second daughter was born. And in 2009 or in 2007, my first daughter was born, and that's when I opened up my real estate brokerage and pretty much put all my chips in on this new idea. And by 2009, when my second daughter was born, all the foundations of everything I had been working for the past 3 or 4 years had been crumbling down because I had employees, I had overhead, I had all these things, and the market was just crushing me. And I just felt, and I was working stupid hours, and I remember holding my child in my arms and like this wondering, like, I feeling like I was such a failure because I didn't know how I was going to make the mortgage payment. I'm already like losing, I'm having to liquidate some of my other investment properties that I had. Like, I'm just like, everything is terrible in my mind. And I just felt like, and I'm struggling to get her to go back to sleep. And it's like, I just suck at everything. It just felt like I sucked at everything. I remember thinking like, gosh, if I could get out of this, if I could get out of this riddle, like what would I want to do? Like if I could climb out of this hole, what would I want to do? It wasn't like I want to make so much money. It was like if I didn't have this financial catastrophe on my shoulders, what would I want to do? And I just had this dream of doing this thing of if I hadn't, enough, whatever that was, I would then go and take trips with my kids and travel and do fun stuff and like go on adventures with my family. And that moment I was thinking about that, I was like, gosh, that's it. That's what I want. That's the coolest thing in my mind I can think of. And once I kind of cemented that vision of what I wanted my life to be like, it was the craziest thing. Things started falling into place. And some of those things were like I found a copy of that 4 Hour Work Week and I read Tim Ferriss's book and I kind of realized, oh, how things you can do from, like it gave me a whole kinds of new ideas. And then next thing you know, within like 6 months to a year, I'd rented out my house as vacation rental. And they pay up front for that. So that not only did that cover the mortgage, but then I was able to go and fly my family someplace cheap
Nice.
and live cheaply for 3 months during our slow season during real estate. Now, I lost maybe some possibilities of some transactions during that time, but what I gained was like I felt like I was so wealthy, just by doing that. I felt wealthy. Next, I realized, wow, this is a really cool way I can leverage this real estate license because I can do some things. I'm still working part-time while I'm away. I can, leverage some people in my office. I can do this and do that. That started a trend over the next 10 years of us traveling about 3 months a year overseas. That's what we averaged. And my wife started writing books about it during that time too. And a couple of them did extraordinarily well. A couple of them hit the New York Times bestseller list. And most of them all involve our family in some form or fashion. They're kind of humor essays. And initially when they were babies, it was like just struggling to deal with babies and, how hard parenting is. And so they're all kind of humor based. And eventually they kind of came more travel based because we were traveling so much. And so we did she did a book when we were in Australia and another book when we were in Brazil and another one for Mexico and things like that. Kind of created this really cool family thing that we're able to do. And my wife was able to push into her passion, which was writing. That was all came from the possibility. One of the reasons why we were attracted to real estate in the first place is like the freedom of not having to go work for somebody else, to have that autonomy to kind of live the life your way you want to. You don't have to report to some other, boss or be limited by how much vacation time you can have. That's what real estate did. And real estate also helped me do what I'm wearing as a t-shirt now, right? It's called Impact Club. This came out of an idea. I was actually at a real estate mastermind where it was all real estate agents. And we're sitting in a room. We're, of course, talking about how we can improve our business and how we can do things more different, more rare. We came up with like, well, how can we do something in our community that really impact our community? People start pitching in, well, I've seen what these people did. I like that. And then people are like, I've seen this. So we started looking around like entrepreneurs, like what are other people are doing that's interesting that seems to work? And then eventually we kind of like came up with this idea called Impact Club, where it's like taking the ideas of other people we liked and kind of creating our own little community thing. I was like, I love the idea. I'm going to run with that in Boise, Idaho. And I did. And that was 7 years ago now. I started my first event. Basically, I kind of take over like a pub or a brewery or some kind of cool event space, but make it kind of casual and fun. And it's like, hey, anyone can come, but if you want to be a club member, we all chip in $100 so we can, give, 3 nonprofits this really cool experience. And like they come, they get 5 minutes in a microphone, and they talk. We divvy up the money based on a few different things, but basically it's a fun, easy. You meet people, you invite your clients. Like it's just easy. I have other realtors from across, my area that show up. They're all fans. hands, we go and we do something impactful to our community. That idea, which was really simple of an idea, has generated over $500,000 of impact in my community,
Wow,
all from
that's huge.
$100 donations. Half
That's
a
huge.
million. That's the thing of being consistent with something. Like it just can continue to have impact. Right now, it's just my wife and I who basically run that little side hustle that generates such good community, give back.
Yeah, it's
And it wasn't that hard
impact.
to do.
Keep it pretty simple. That is awesome. I've seen what you guys have done with Impact Club, and I'm always just blown away by it.
Well, it's fun to be able to share yourself with your community in ways outside of your daily hustle, essentially.
Absolutely.
And because it makes you real and more authentic. And again, the more real they see you, the more of a community, family, whatever person you are, then the more they want to be engaged with you, to support you and your business and all the initiatives that you're working on.
What's on the horizon for Impact Club over the next 12 months?
I previously had this pipe dream, and it's still on the shelf, of expanding it into multiple markets and help people launch theirs and stuff like that. But I need to solve a few other things with my current businesses before I get too distracted with something like that. So right now I'm looking at strategic partners and this is a good way to actually grow your business or whatever you're trying to do. So it's like sometimes it's not how, it's who can help you grow. And like one of my investor groups, communities here, the leader of it's a great gal. She's super smart and she's doing a lot of good things with it. She's like a huge fan of Impact Club. And so I was like, all right, well, let's collaborate and let's find a way to maybe we can incorporate this into your group, so we can kind of combine forces here to help it expand and grow more. So things like that. So that's what I'm looking for. That is just kind of how to be strategic and find strategic partners with that. And then time, who knows? Like right now, there's two clubs in existence. There's one in Maryland, another friend of mine.
I saw that. I saw that. I'm like, wait a minute, what's it? So that's what really intrigued me. I'm like, what? Hold on a second. I thought Mike started this thing. What's it doing across the country, way over there?
Yeah, actually, we started with like about a half a dozen groups in different spots. The goal was to kind of be the beta testers on that, and then ultimately, once we kind of figured out a plan to launch it in more markets, the challenge is that it had different people. Whoever was running it had different challenges of getting it built and momentum and all that and keeping it. And there's expenses involved with it.
It's a thankless job to build a community until it runs on its own, which takes a long time to get there.
We're just starting making some headway there, and then COVID and things like that. But my friend out in Maryland does it. He's on a whole nother level with it. He's just surpassed $1 million of total donate to his community. So it's just absolutely transformational of what he's accomplished in his community. And, he's kind of wholly branded his whole kind of his business around that. I think his business is now called Impact Real Estate or something like that. But it's cool. It's cool what he's been able to do. But my idea is, eventually, if he and I can raise $1.5 million, just the two of us, can you imagine the billions we could do if we could just get this in more markets? So that part gets me excited and that lights me up. As soon as I get more of that, my recurring income up a bit higher, maybe I'll have been able to have the freedom to go do that.
Yeah, you need the freedom to do that. You and I both know big guys and big girls around the country or maybe even around the world that if you get the right thing in front of them, but you have that excitement and you say, just like partnering on deals, I'm going to put the work on my back. I just need you because you can put it on your big website or you can give $1 million, whatever that is. Some people can give $1 million like that or could send one email out and it could change everything, right? It's being able to keep that engine running, in between. So I like how that goes back to needing the residual income.
As an entrepreneur, we can make a mistake sometimes, and I'm very guilty of this, of putting too much on our plate and then not fulfilling our obligations well enough in all of those situations, and those things suffer. So the main thing you can do right now, what you should do right now, is really focus in on just a couple things and get really awesome at them. And that's going to really help your business. It's going to help a lot of different things. Being able to say, I like that. I might want to go after that soon, but maybe I have to get these other two things finished first. Hammer that out. I'm trying to do that. It's been a struggle because I love to get my hands in all kinds of things.
The curse of an entrepreneur, right? So, Mike, last thing I want to ask is if you could sum your real estate business up into one sentence right now, what would it be?
Going all in on passive income. I'm all in on it. It gets me where I want to go.
Well, listen, guys, if you want to follow the amazing Mike Turner, you can follow his Facebook page. All of his information is in the show notes below. He's got links in there to Impact Club, and anything else that you want to know, just reach out to us. But Mike, we absolutely thank you for your time. It's been an amazing show.
You're a rare breed. And I hope the people who follow you or in your community recognize that, because you do care, you show up, you're making a difference. And I'm super impressed by you. I think anybody who's in your community is really lucky and should lean on it. You have so well connected to, you're just a wealth of knowledge and experience. And so good luck to your community. And I can't wait to be a part of it, even if it's from afar, because you're kicking. And I think this whole rare agent thing is exactly the mindset of what you need to have to survive in this kind of new landscape we're in. Giving a community to come in, to gather, to find out, to see ideas, and to learn. I think that's just so cool.
Thanks for the kind words, and we'll see you guys on the next show. If you got a lot out of today's episode with Mike, you're going to love this. He shared his ultimate game-changing strategy exclusively for our free Facebook community, Closings from Leads. Don't miss it. It's available only for members. Click the link in the show notes to join and hear the rare edge today. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. Until next time, keep it rare and keep it real.